Okay, another day, another exciting episode with an organization who embraces all things food. We are talking with Chairman of Jersey Shore Restaurant Week, Jim Flynn, who, after traveling and experiencing this restaurant concept firsthand, decided that all the great dining spots at the Jersey Shore should have a week of their own. The organization's main goal is to encourage diners to experience different local restaurants around them that they might not have heard of before. With the pandemic, 2020 has been a challenging year for everyone, to say the least, especially food experiences and dining in. I'm excited to speak with Jim about the changes they've implemented this past year to continue supporting their restaurants and plans for future restaurant weeks in New Jersey. So let's talk food. So I'll just jump right into kind of like the different topics I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
So I think the first one is to start with basically what is the Jersey Shore Restaurant Week and why it was created?
Well, we actually started it about 12 years ago. And the concept of restaurant weeks started in New York City about, I'm going to guess maybe 15 years ago, maybe even 20. Mm-hmm. And the idea was to give restaurants a promotional vehicle in times of the year that are generally slow. And so we plan ours in April and November, two of the slowest months of the years for the restaurants. And it's also an opportunity for consumers to go out and try new restaurants and try restaurants that maybe they thought were too expensive for them, but because of the pricing structure and the value offered during Restaurant Week, it allows them to go out and try some of these restaurants. So it kind of works for everybody.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask what the benefits would be if I was a restaurant signing up to participate with your week, but that makes sense because you're doing it for the months that are slow.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say the other thing that happens is that our follow-up research with the consumer tells us that consumers go out to dinner almost 50% more during Restaurant Week than they do during a normal week. So there's more people going out, there's more people visiting restaurants. And then the really interesting thing is that over 90% of the people tell us that they try a new restaurant during Restaurant Week. So it's an opportunity for the restaurant not only to get new business or additional business, but to introduce what they have to offer to consumers that may have never been there before.
And any restaurant in the area can sign up pretty much?
Yeah. Anybody can sign up. There's a participation fee, and we provide them with a bunch of marketing materials, and we promote the event very heavily. But anybody can sign up. Yep.
Okay, so for the week when it happens, so how does that work? So they sign up, you have your restaurant week, people can go on and purchase tickets or see who's participating.
Yeah, they can come to our website. We post all of the menus. So there are menu requirements for the restaurants. They have to offer 3 courses and 3 choices within those 3 courses. So they have to offer 3 appetizers, 3 entree, and 3 dessert choices at a set price. So for a full service restaurant that has a liquor license, their price is $33, and the change is always the year, so $33.21. And
that's fine.
Smaller restaurants or restaurants that are more kind of like a pub restaurant, they offer the same 3 courses, but theirs is $23.21.
Gotcha. Okay, I was wondering how that worked. That's a cool idea.
Well, you know what happens is that the consistency is something that the consumer really likes. They know that whatever restaurant they go into that participates in Restaurant Week, during Restaurant Week, they're going to get 3 courses. They're going to be offered 3 courses and 3 choices within each at one set price. So, they're not going to go to one restaurant and it's going to be 33 and another it's going to be 35. The pricing is constant throughout.
Gotcha. And I believe I'm correct when I say that you had to postpone the Restaurant Week this fall or in 2020, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, we actually did it in the fall. We had to cancel the April one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So are you guys planning any events yet for 2021, or are you just kind of feeling it out?
No, we are. We have set up Restaurant Week for the third week in April, which is a little bit later than we normally run it, but we kind of felt like the later we could do it, the more normal the world would be. So we pushed it to a little bit later in April.
I think that's what everyone's plan is, like, let's push it back. But that was everyone's plan too in like 2020, like, let's push it back. It'll get better. And it's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, we had, when we first canceled the one in April 2020, we kind of thought, okay, well, things will be better in a couple of months.
Yeah.
And, so we said, we'll do this in June. And by then everything will be fine. Well, obviously that didn't happen. But what we did do is we did a takeout event in June. And
how'd that go?
It went great. The consumer was just kind of getting used to the whole takeout concept, but this offered them an opportunity. We promoted the restaurants. We promoted what their takeout offer was, and it really helped the restaurants. It helped them to pick up some extra business that they might not have gotten before.
Yeah. So how did you guys run that event? I'm just curious. The takeout.
We just promoted it. The restaurants provided us with the hours that they were going to offer takeout, and how it would work, whether it was curbside pickup or however. And we just promoted it that way, and the consumer had an opportunity to go to our website and see who was offering what and what their ground rules were.
Nice. Okay, so as you guys, you're having the event come up in late April. So when you move forward hosting these events, I'm just curious, are those going to be takeout, or are they going to actually be dining experiences? Yeah,
they'll be dining experiences where the right now in New Jersey, you can have indoor dining with 25% capacity. So we're hoping that will be increased by April, but if not, it'll still be a way. The restaurants will be coming off of a very difficult winter, and so having a promotional event like this in April should be a real boon to their business. So at least that's what we're hoping.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Well, I'm glad you guys have at least some capacity inside, which is nice, instead of having to make it work outside. Do you know, I know you're just promoting it for the restaurants, but have you ever heard of what they're kind of doing to be really cautious about, keeping guests safe, kind of easing their minds into attending?
Yeah, one of the things that we see is that people are dying to go out. We're human beings. We're social. We like to go out. We like to see people and talk to people. So people are looking for restaurants who are kind of going the extra yard to keep them safe. And we've been into restaurants where the staff is all wearing masks. They're wearing gloves. The tables are set apart. They really are being cautious about how they run their business. We've been in others where they don't. And so, and just personally, we won't go back until things are normal, just because, we went into one place and half of the staff behind the bar had a mask on, half didn't. Some had gloves on, some didn't. We saw one bartender reach into a jar to get lemons or limes with no glove on. That's a place I'm not going to go back to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But then there are others that are so good about it, and you feel comfortable. You feel like, this isn't going to be an issue here. And so you'll go back, and we have. So, that's kind of what I tell restaurants is, people, if you make people feel comfortable, they'll keep coming back even during this whole thing.
Yeah. So what would you say after COVID hit and you guys had to obviously postpone your events, but moving forward or during that time, what do you think was the biggest adjustment for you guys in the beginning? I mean, trying to navigate COVID, and what were some of the things you guys had to kind of figure out that maybe you could offer some tips to other people that might be out there still trying to figure it out?
Yeah, once we realized that we weren't going to be able to do our events, then we kind of shifted into, okay, how can we help the restaurants? Because, they at the beginning, they were looking at this thing, as you know, that they were totally shut down at one point, and then they were allowed to do takeout, and then ultimately, allowed to do some indoor dining. But some of them were just really, really creative. And the ones that were fortunate to have outside space, some of them did an amazing job in creating a very comfortable space outside under tents. And, some of them built, structures that I've never seen before. And so they kind of just went with it and figured, if we're going to survive, we have to really be creative and be able to get people in here and serve them and make them feel comfortable. And the ones that did that have come through this thing pretty well. I mean, I've heard restaurants tell me that this past summer was their best summer ever.
That's crazy.
And I think the reason for that is that some of them were able to, build spaces outside that were almost as big, if not bigger, than their indoor space.
Well, they're lucky. Because I just went to this past month. I went to New York City, and it's crazy because obviously they're only doing the outdoor dining.
Right.
And it's really lucky for those restaurants that have the space to do it. But then you see the other ones that there is no space where they can put anything outside, and it just breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
But the ones you said, they're really creative with it, and they have the heaters. They have everything thought out. And I even saw the little domes and the bubbles. It's kind of making another different type of experience when you go out to eat now.
Yeah, and there's a big move here in New Jersey now to get the governor has 2 bills before him that everyone is urging him to sign, and they're to extend outdoor dining until the end of November 2022. And there's really no reason not to do that. And for the people that have the space, and for the consumer, people love to eat outside. And even if it's under a tent, it's just good for the restaurant industry. It's good for business. And some of them, we have one place here in my local town where their tent space was almost twice the size of their indoor space. So then when they were able to do some indoor, they had a much bigger restaurant than they started with. And that ended up being great for them. So we're hoping that the governor will sign this and allow the restaurants to have outdoor dining for the next pretty much 2 years.
Oh, okay. So I get what you're saying now. They wouldn't technically be allowed to have the outdoor dining?
Yeah, in New Jersey, unless you already have an approved space like a patio or something like that, you can't do outdoor dining. Yeah. So all of these, structures and tents and things that people put up, we're against what the existing laws are. So they're trying to get those changed now.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Because some people have, like you said, big spaces, and it's cool. It's fun. It's like you're camping.
Yeah, it is. There's another one over in the next town over that built a beautiful structure that's almost nicer than their regular restaurant.
Yeah.
And they've got music piped in, and they've got heat, and it's just great.
Yeah. It's definitely a different experience. I think the other thing I wanted to ask you was, since you do help do the promotions for the restaurants and get the word out there, for the marketing aspect, how did you guys make that transition to letting your guests and your customers know, hey, we're doing, this is what's happening? How have you stayed in communication and connected to your guests during this time? That makes sense.
We do a lot of social media, and not just regular social media posting, but we do social media posting and then boost them, and so that we reach more people. we also were fortunate to have some of the local radio stations when we were in the middle of the worst part of things back in April. We went to some of the local radio stations, Town Square Media, which has probably 5 or 6 local radio stations, and we said, we need your help. The restaurants are really struggling. We're going to do a takeout event. Would you help us promote it and not charge us?
Oh, that's nice.
And what I said to them was, when we get back, to normal, then I will run a regular radio schedule with you. And they stepped up. They did a wonderful job in promoting the takeout event last June. Mm-hmm. And then when we did our November or our October restaurant week, I went back to them to thank them and scheduled a radio promotion with them.
What a good partnership. I feel like people really underestimate the power of radio and honestly traditional marketing sometimes, because we are a digital world and it works. But sometimes the people just forget, like, traditional ways are stronger. It depends, but I know a lot of promoters I talk to and they are like, yeah, we do radio. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know why people forget about that radio.
Yeah. Well, and what was nice, I mean, everybody was going through so many horrible things, but everybody was willing to help each other. And that was really heartening. I mean, people stepped up and said, yes, we will help promote this for you to help the restaurants, and we're not going to charge you. And they ran a wonderful 2-week schedule for us. So it was great. Yeah.
I'm glad you guys had that happen. That's awesome. People have really stepped up during this. I mean, you see everyone's true colors, and we're all willing to help and support locals. And
yep.
And then before we close out, I noticed on Purplepass, you guys had events coming up in March. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That's not part of the restaurant week, right?
Well, we a number of years ago, we started an event that originally we called Jersey Shore Wine Weekend, and we rebranded a couple of years ago to call it Jersey Shore Food and Wine Experience.
Oh, that's what it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do it in February usually, just because people are always looking for something to do in the middle of the winter. So we wanted to do it again this year, but we pushed it out into March again to give us a little bit more time, and to kind of rethink how we're going to do some things. Like, one of the elements of the weekend is usually a grand tasting, which is a walk around event. Mm-hmm. And so we said, you know what? I don't think people are going to be ready to do a walk around event.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do the grand tasting as a seated event, and we'll have 6-foot tables and only 2 people at either end of the 6-foot table, and they'll be served their tastings. So we'll be able to accomplish the same thing, but in a much safer way. And so that's another thing that's happened with all of this, is that, you've got to kind of rethink. If you're going to do events, you got to rethink it a little bit and make sure that everybody's going to be safe and that everybody's going to be comfortable.
Yeah. So if people, you said it's only 2 people, but if you came with a family, would they be able to all sit together?
Well, we would sit them, I don't know, probably.
Yeah, you're figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, start right off breaking my rules,
Yeah.
You can, if you had a group of 4 or a group of 6, you could put them, tables, right in front of each other, so they could turn around and talk and that kind of thing, but still be spaced. And so we'll work through it. We'll figure it out and make sure that everybody's good with it.
I'll have to talk to you again and see how that goes, because I just like everyone does such different things. The creativity that comes out, it's fun talking to all the different promoters, because I'm like, I just talked to a museum director, and they actually decorated their plexiglass with just specialized stickers, customized it, and it looks like part of the museum now. And I'm just like, that's so
great.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
random stuff.
we did an event in October, and it was normally a walk around event, and people would go up to a table and they would get some. So what we changed about it is that all of the samples, all the tastings, were plated beforehand. So people were handed a dish that had the food in it rather than taking it from a display or something like that. So and people were great with it. They enjoyed it. It was a little bit different.
Yeah.
And everybody felt safe. So, and that's kind of the key. Not only to really keep them safe, but to be sure that people feel safe
Yeah.
is almost equally as important. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think honestly, people are going to be just happy that they can go somewhere and do
Yeah.
some things. I don't
Oh,
think they're going to be
absolutely.
complaining that, oh, this is different. I think at this point, everyone's like, oh, people, hi.
Yeah. Just let me get out.
Yeah. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys have been working through it, figuring it out. Before I leave you, is there any tip or thing you would like to mention just to our listeners that are mostly event promoters, organizers out there trying to navigate COVID or, make it through?
Yeah. As I said before, recognize that people want to go out right now. I mean, but they want to be safe. So they're going to go to places that they feel safe. And they're going to go to events where the event promoter has told them up front what things are being done to make them safe and to make them feel safe. So that when they look at an event, we're actually going to add some things to our event listings that tell what protocols we're going to be implementing, so that when people come and they see the event and they find it attractive, and we want them to know right up front what we're going to do to make sure that they're comfortable.
Yeah, that's a good idea, just to list out everything. Hey, we're going to do this. What's required? You have to wear a mask. That too, because I know some people, some people are like, I don't want to wear a mask. So it's good to tell them like, hey, you got to do this, 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 or just don't participate in advance. Yeah.
And we at the event that we did in October, it was outside, but we took everybody's temperature when they came in. We made sure that everybody wore masks when they were walking around. So, people are pretty good. You get a few every now and then that, want to be rebels, but you just tell them that they have to leave.
Yeah, in advance. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much. This is a quick conversation, and I'm glad I got to talk to you. You made time for me this morning.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you reaching out to me.